When I was 21, I lived in a cheap apartment complex outside of Columbus. Nothing fancy. The place was old. The walls were thin, the elevators barely worked, but rent was cheap, and that was all I cared about. For almost a year, everything was completely normal. Then apartment 407 became available. The unit sat directly across from mine. A young couple had lived there for years. Then one day they moved out. Nothing unusual. People move out all the time. A week later, somebody new moved in. At least I assumed somebody did. The manager told me the apartment had been rented, and every morning I noticed fresh footprints outside the door. Somebody was clearly living there. The strange part was, I never saw them. Not once. Days became weeks, weeks became months. I still never saw anyone enter or leave. No guests, no deliveries, no noise, nothing. At first I didn't think much about it. People keep to themselves. Then I started noticing something weird. Every night at exactly 2:17 a.m., the apartment door would open. Just a crack, not all the way. Just enough to reveal darkness inside. Then it would slowly close. Again. The first time I saw it, I figured somebody was checking the hallway. The second time I ignored it. By the 10th time it was starting to bother me, because I never saw anyone standing there. The door opened, the door closed. That's it. One night I decided to stay awake. At 2:16 a.m. I sat beside my peephole waiting. The hallway was empty, silent. Then, 2:17. The door opened, slowly, exactly like always. And for the first time, I saw something inside. A light, very faint, like a television screen somewhere deep inside the apartment. Then the door shut again. The next morning I asked the property manager about it. He looked confused. Then he told me something strange. Apartment 407 wasn't supposed to be occupied. I laughed. I thought he was joking. But he wasn't. According to his records, the apartment had never been rented after the previous tenants moved out. Nobody had signed a lease. Nobody had keys. Nobody should have been inside. I immediately told him about the nightly door. He agreed to check it himself. That afternoon we went upstairs together. He unlocked the apartment and we walked inside. The place was empty, completely empty. No furniture, no clothes, no food, nothing, just dust. Except for one thing, a television, sitting in the middle of the living room, plugged into the wall, turned on. The screen showed black and white security footage, a hallway camera, our hallway. The camera angle pointed directly at my apartment door. I remember asking where the camera was. The manager didn't answer, because he was staring at the screen. Then I looked closer and felt sick. The footage wasn't live, it was dated, 3 days in the future. The timestamp clearly showed a date that hadn't happened yet, and on the screen, I was standing outside my apartment, looking directly into the camera. The manager immediately unplugged the television. The screen went black. We left, locked the door, and agreed the whole thing was probably some kind of prank. Neither of us believed that. That night I couldn't sleep. Around 2:17 a.m., the apartment door opened again. I looked through the peephole. The hallway was empty, but then I noticed something. The door to apartment 407 wasn't opening inward anymore. It was opening outward, into the hallway, slowly, quietly, and somebody was standing behind it. Not moving, not breathing, just standing there, watching my door. I couldn't see their face. The hallway light behind them made them appear completely black, like a silhouette. Then they raised one arm and pointed directly at me. The hallway camera. I remembered the television instantly. The future footage. the date, everything. I stepped away from the people and didn't look again. The next morning, I called the property manager. No answer. I went downstairs. His office was locked. A police car sat outside the building. The manager had died overnight, a heart attack, according to the police. A few days later, I moved out. I wanted nothing to do with the place anymore. Before leaving, I checked apartment 407 one last time. The door was open, just slightly. Inside sat the television, still running. The footage had changed. This time the timestamp was 6 months ahead, and the camera wasn't showing my apartment anymore. It was showing a different hallway, different building, a different city. A man stood outside another apartment door, staring directly into the camera. Then the man slowly turned his head and looked straight at me. The screen went black. I never found out who he was, but every few years I search online for apartment fires, missing persons cases, and strange deaths. Anything connected to apartment buildings. Because sometimes a surveillance image appears in the news, and every time it does, the hallway looks exactly the same.